Hello and good afternoon. My name is Martin Cowart, and welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour, where we've been gathering together almost since the beginning of the pandemic here in this virtual sanctuary to create a safe space for us to love and support each other through this pandemic. And there's no shortage of fear right now. And if we can, one of the purposes, one of the primary purposes of this is to be able to get to know fear. And I mean, get to know fear. And what I know as a prosperity coach about fear and a shadow worker about fear, the more we get to know fear, KNO fear, the less fear we experience. Because most fear is an idea, a perception, a story of something that's going to happen in the future, or some unknown event that's going to hurt us. So, I mean, we need a certain level of fear. I mean, fear is a good thing because we need to be alerted to the fact that maybe there's something coming up that we need to pay attention to. So it's not like we want fear to not happen. We need fear. We need healthy fear. And we need it to remind us of what's coming on so we can shift courses, if you will. And I just saw a thought I spent today, since we're all there's no I know for me yesterday I was living in so much fear, and it's probably one of the most uncomfortable emotional feelings we human beings ever experience, quite frankly. And I know we're the only animals that actually experience this kind of perceived danger. Um, and I will say this: the more I've learned about fear, and the more I coach around fear and use, what I really teach in my prosperity coaching, is that fear actually is the way we transcend, the way we actually empower ourselves to create change. And we need that kind of fire, that kind of hot, that kind of shadowy, uncomfortable feeling in order for us to change. I mean, if everything was going on in our world the way we wanted it to, and everything was happening, but we weren't being challenged by anything, then why would we ever want to change course? And what I would say this about fear is that what it is the more we get comfortable with getting to know the truth about ourselves, and that means the shadow parts of ourselves, those parts of ourselves that Carl Jung called the parts of ourselves we hide, repress, and deny. And what I can say this is, the more I get to know those parts of myself, the parts of that can be manipulative, the parts that not tell the truth, the parts of me that are there to protect me from danger. The more I get to know those, the more I can accept those parts of myself, the more I get intimate with all of me, the less fear I have. So what we're learning here, and what Jesus always referred to as the kingdom of heaven. Now, people get that so falsely understood. Um, I mean, first of all, Jesus was not in any way looking to create a religion. That was the last thing that he wanted to do. He was a revolutionary teacher, who leader of nonviolent resistance against the empire. So the last thing he wanted to do was to create an empire around him, around a religion, around a human concept of God, which is exactly what they did, quite frankly. And we've been living under that painful tyranny for quite some time, since they came up with it in the early church. And it's about time that came tumbling down, and it is coming down. We're bringing back in the divine feminine. It was such a male-dominated organization, or enterprise, if you will, that we are learning to tear that down, in the biblical world, to tear down the temple, because the temple was there to really, it was there for us to. It was an idol. It was what to worship our own egos, really. I mean, the God we created was something that was driven out of our egos, a fear-driven God. So what we're learning is what Jesus taught. What I talk about here are what I call the wisdom teachings of Jesus, and I use the wisdom teachings of Jesus in my prosperity coaching because that's what it is. It's about learning. It's about using what Buddhists call koans, or what Jesus used as parables, which are there to kind of like fry the circuits of the brain because they really don't make any sense to the human mind because it's a non-binary construction. It's a non-dual. So, and Cynthia Bourgeault did a wonderful job of talking about what she calls the kingdom of heaven, and she says it's really a metaphor for a state of consciousness. It's not really a place we go to if we've been good little boys and girls in our lives. It's really a place we come from. And once you experience that, it creates a whole new way of looking at the world, a transformational awareness that literally turns the world into a different place. And I want to comment on that as I've been practicing this more and more during this COVID-19 here with you and then on my own practices as well. But I went into the city this week and there's somebody saying hello. Let's say hello back. Hey, Rohit. Nice to have you here. Great, great, great. I always love it when people say hello. Please say hello. And I was talking about going into the city this past weekend for the first time since March. And I noticed a different vibe for the city. And it's the way I see the world. I see the world now as a more loving, more nurturing place. Therefore, that's the world we live in. And so it's hard for me to tell if did the external world change? Did New York City change? I think probably it did. I think it's a both and. I think we're more collectively coming into the world, into the city, and into the external world from a place of love, from a place of abundance and a place of prosperity. We're not coming in to sort of cling and fight for our own share of the island, if you will, a piece of the pie. We've all taken a step back and we've looked at ourselves and we've looked at what we have and we're grateful. So a trip into the city now and walking around and seeing other people and seeing them all wearing masks, which to me, as you can see from is an act of self-love and love of life and love of your neighbor. So to walk around Manhattan and to see people practicing that social distancing and wearing a mask, it's like everybody's wearing a big outward sign saying, I love you. And so I had this wonderful experience of going into the city on Saturday night to go to see a friend's art opening. And I saw the world from a place of love and prosperity and abundance and joy and creativity. And it felt like the old New York I knew when I first came here. So it's not like we're trying to get to heaven. It's a place we come from. And when we begin to experience the world from that place of love and abundance and prosperity and truth, that's the world we see and that's the world we perceive. And it's just a lot more fun and a lot more exciting to live in that world. And it's not some kind of socialistic, idealistic type of world. It's a world of love and compassion and truth and caring for one another. And I think that's the word. That's the word I want to pick up on, was that coming into New York was a place of caring for each other and to sit on the subway and see families all wearing their masks. It was just a symbol of I care for you. I care for my family. Hey, Mindy, how are you doing? We're just sharing a little bit about what I know about fear, and I would say the more we get to know fear, the more we get to know fear. The more intimate we get to know with that inner fear within us, and we get to know that that's actually something that's sort of pointing us in to something or helping us see something so we can grow. And when we have the courage to face those fears, then we begin to expand our comfort zone, if you will. And I got to say that my trip to New York the city was just phenomenal. And it felt very vulnerable too, because I kind of got lost a few times. I didn't really get lost, but I was like, oh, I haven't been here in a while. I'm not sure exactly which subway to take. And I've been commuting into the city, lived in the city for 20 something years and commuting for 20 something years. So it was a little scary at times to to just all of a sudden, well, what supplement do I take? It didn't like readily come up in my radar screen. So yes, a rabbit hole. We go into a rabbit hole. That is exactly what it is. We go into a fear rabbit hole. We create this story in our head that this terrible thing is going to go happen in the future. I think that's what you're talking about. As if I'm not, you can come back and tell me. But when I'm hearing, when I think what you're suggesting is that all of a sudden we have this perceived danger coming up. So then we begin to look for things to validify its truth. The ego looks for this, looks for that. Oh, I knew I was right. I knew I was right. I knew that we're gonna have doomsday tomorrow. We're gonna have doomsday tomorrow. So that fear gets expanded. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to show you a little bit of what I do, is I do something called faith, which is where we actually take that fear and we transform it into to love. Basically, that's the power of fear. It is a low vibrational frequency that we can transform into that can be destructive. But if we able to play with it right and pour some light on it, don't get mad at the dark for being dark. Instead, shine a light on it. If we can shine some light on that fear, then we can ramp up the vibrational juices of that fear. We can create a new world. And that's what I experienced in New York the other day, and it was just phenomenal. And nice, thank you. There's Mindy. Hey, Mindy and Rohit speaking to each other. Yeah, okay, good. So I'm on the right track. So I want to just take a minute. I've done this before, and I think it's very helpful because I think I do this exercise. It's called a faith exercise, and I do this exercise two or three times. I might do this all during the day. Yesterday I had a particularly fear-driven day. I woke up just feeling sort of, I don't know if it was fear or sadness or grief, but I didn't have the inner strength really to go out and try to push my way through the day. I just gave myself a day of self-care. And what I did yesterday was really kind of fun. I actually spent the whole afternoon after this watching Christmas holiday movies. And I found myself just crying, and they're just so predictable, and it's just all about falling in love and princesses and the joy of Christmas and the love of Christmas. And I thought, wow, I'm so grateful to have, to be able to binge watch holiday movies, and I just, at the end of the night when I went to bed, I just felt so good. I watched the news for about a nanosecond, and I just couldn't. I just said, I can't watch this. I can't hear any more about Donald Trump's mean, cruel behavior, quite frankly. I just don't understand it. And it's just too painful when we've got literally thousands of our brothers and sisters that are dying, that are getting sick, and to be reminded of this mean, cruel behavior, this mean, selfish, cruel behavior. I just don't like to hear it, and I don't imagine you do either. So I don't watch it. I just don't watch it. I watch it at the minute. I'd rather watch holiday Christmas movies because that makes me feel good. And isn't that the point? Don't we want to feel good? And that's the whole point of what I want to teach you here and show you here. And you can always get a copy of this by going to the Financial Mystics Sanctuary and downloading a copy of this for yourselves if you like. And I call it, the acronym is FAITH. And it's a 5-step transformational process to shift from fear to love. And I love this quote about faith: is the bird that feels the light when the dawn is still dark. And I think that's exactly what we're experiencing right now as we're getting more closer and closer, I hope, to the end of this really dark, dark time in the history of humanity. But so let's start with the first letter, which is an F, which means feel it and flow with it. And when you feel fear and the uncomfortable emotions it comes with, anger, shame, sadness, our natural reaction is to resist it. We want it to go away. We don't like these negative feelings. But I'm going to suggest this: instead of trying to resist it and push it to go, the next word is accept it, and just feel it and flow with it. Feel it fully with your whole mind, body, and soul. Really feel the fear. our first is to think, is we're thinking a thought, a story that's producing the fear. So what we want to first do is say, okay, what are we feeling? And just really feel the feeling. Let's see here what we got. We got a comment here. Let's see. It's always faith over fear. I've come to value the presence of fear because its presence has really increased my level. Of course, we wouldn't need to exercise courage if we didn't have fear. Fear is what we do, is that inner strength we get within ourselves to face that fear. And because we like gosh, I know I know your experience, Welcome, is just phenomenal. I mean, your story of that you've shared with us in the past about being once in part of a gang, and now you and now you face that fear, whatever your fears were that put you in the gang, and now you are now making huge difference, in a significant difference in the lives of young people in South Africa. And you see how the power of facing our fears and stepping through that with faith. We can really make a big difference and make a big change in our world. And Welcome, I thank you for saying this, and I also want to thank you so much for all the work that you're doing in South Africa for young people in that part of the world. And you got my love there, brother. And you're welcome, Jay. Thank you for being here. And I'll go back now to my conversation. If anybody wants a copy of this illustration that I'm talking about today, you can go right to my website, the Financial Mystic Sanctuary, and you'll find it in the vault, and you can download a copy of it for yourself. So we just finished with F, the feel it and the flow with it part. And now we're going to get to the A in faith, acceptance. Of fully accepting what is present in the moment. It allows our heart and our body and our mind to connect to this moment and align with the higher, more efficient power within ourselves. You will begin to feel your way home to your source of power. You begin to feel your way home to the kingdom of heaven. You could say, if we want to use that metaphor of that we talked about earlier. By accepting the fear, we're able to feel our way back home to the kingdom of heaven, or that source of power. And now we get to I, the inquiry. Our emotions connect us to our thoughts and our beliefs of the past. So if you're feeling fear, you are what's happening, and you stop and you look. Well, I don't really have anything really imminent right now in front of me that's telling me I should be afraid. But what's happening is we're thinking of something in our head. We're thinking of something that happened in the past. Something has triggered a past experience that we found painful, and it's telling us, be careful, because this is going to happen. And it's usually based on something it's usually a shadow belief we have about ourselves. It's a thought or a belief about ourselves that is a lie. It's not truth. And one of the most common comes out of that scarcity mindset, that there's not enough, and that I'm not enough, and that there's only a finite number of resources, including money, that's available for me. And the truth is, so we create this whole story that I'm going to be left behind. I'm not going to get my share. I'm not worthy. I'm unlikely. And that's what's being triggered by the fear, is this false belief about ourselves. So the thing is, then you got to ask yourself from the heart, is that true? Is that story, is that belief that you're telling yourself about yourself that's making you feel the experience of fear, is that true? Is it true I'm unworthy of love? Is it true that I don't have enough? Is it true? And when you really inquire from the heart, then you realize that no, of course it's not true. And that's where we get to T, the truth. So you ask yourself, is there a thought or belief that is true or truer? Like maybe, well, yeah, actually, I am a loving person. I have everything that I need, And I get so much joy out of making a difference in people's lives and sharing what I have. And I come from a place of generosity. And all of a sudden we shift from this fear of not enough to the joy and the love of abundance within ourselves. So truth is freedom, and intention activates a purpose. So the invitation here is what is the truth you can say about yourself? I am a loving, caring man. Now that I know who I am, what is my new purpose? As a loving, caring man, I want to make a difference in the world. I want to share my truth with others. And the one way I do it is here every day. Doing this. This is my way, one of my personal ways. I feel like I'm adding value to the world and making a contribution, because if I can calm down the fear in the world right now and create more peace, then we can move forward into a more peaceful world on a collective basis. So the truth is freedom, and intention activates a higher purpose. And then finally, we get to the place of the heart space, the H. And our heart space is the center of all creation. It's that spark of life within us, the fire of life. Um, and it's that one way it's that still points that unites us with life. It's kind of like a light of radar, a radar beacon, a light beacon, a light beacon in the world, right? That connects us to life itself. And that could be the life in the tree, that could be the life in the hummingbird, that could be the life in each other. It connects us to all of life. And it is our true source of power. There is where we're home. That's what Jesus was trying to tell us. Our true source of power is always within us. And that's the power we have to solve problems, financial problems. It's the same problem, and the way to create wealth, way to create value, the way to bring purpose to the world. So, so the final place is where you just put your hand on your heart and just breathe and say, and open your heart to accepting the truth of who you are, the miracle of being a human being, of being a beautiful, loving human being. That just is, and one other thing I'm going to finish with, once we step into that sense of purpose, you will discover that you are a being, not a doer. And my purpose and your purpose doesn't come from Martin's doing, but it really comes from me getting out of the way, removing my fear, removing the obstacles, and allowing ourselves to become servants to the divine, servants to the divine mother, servants to the divine father within us, to make a difference in the world. So I want you to just, if this was helpful today, but it's a way of transforming ourselves from that fear-driven, egoic way of being, in what I call the lower human realm, which is we want to transcend and include it. We never get rid of it. But we do learn through a practice of how to use that as a tool, or as a vibration of energy. Everything's energy, by the way. Everything's energy, moving at different vibrational speeds. So what we're able to do as human beings, which is pretty darn remarkable if you think about it, is we're able to transform that lower vibrational energy of fear that's destructive and transform that into love energy, which is created and transformed. Kind of cool, right? So if you'd like a copy of this, just go to the Financial Mystics Sanctuary Facebook group. And if you're not a member, join. I'd love to have you be a part of that. This is also broadcast there every day. And download a copy of it and put it next to your desk. Because I know you wouldn't be human if you weren't experiencing fear, and a lot of fear right now. I mean, we do. We can't, even though we might now have transformed some fear in ourselves in the last few minutes while we come here to transform that fear into love. It's a practice. We have to get into the practice of it, and that's why we come here. We create the sanctuary as a safe haven, as a refuge, if you will, for us to support each other with this. And that's why I'm grateful that you're here. Seeing you say thank you and yes and write in the chat is it opens my heart, and I feel loved, and I feel healed, and I hope that you get it's a reciprocity of love that happens here in this free sanctuary. It's wonderful. So before we meditate, we've got a few minutes. Does anybody want to make some comments? What did you learn from what I just showed you? Is this helpful? Um, and what can we do, and what can we comment on? Please feel free to comment in the comment section while I get my timer out here. So I'm gonna start the timer for 20 minutes of meditation, and please stick around for that. I mean, I it's it is exciting as much as I appreciate you being here to hear what I have to say. The purpose of me sharing some wisdom, the truth wisdom that I caught from Jesus, what I hope is wisdom, is going to open up the brain waves, the middle, the channels there, to becoming more acceptable to meditation, to quieting the mind, to sort of bring us from all that frantic world out there into this sacred space, and then deeper into that chamber within ourselves, that deeper room within us of emptiness and infinite love, and that's the divine, and to bring us clearly home in your own way of being, so that you have that same connection to that same source of power that I have. I can't do it for you. You have to do it yourself. But I can guide you. And that's what I hope you'll do. I hope you'll just get quiet. So let me guide you through into the meditation right now. So raise your arms up in the air, just to remind us of that life force within us that raises our arms. And as you hear that bell, and you feel the vibration of the bell, bring your arms down and sit in a comfortable seat. Feel your rear end in the chair. Sit up tall like a proud human being, proud to be human, proud of who you are. Stand up in a place of pride and gratitude for this life. And begin to, as you breathe, begin to soften the mind. Just begin to soften the mind. And we're going to start our meditation with conscious breathing. Because we breathe all day, but we're often not conscious of it, which is nice, because we can just breathe and go about on a daily basis without having to think about it. But right now, to get us present, we're just going to focus our mind on that breath. And feel the vibration of that bell. And notice the ability to lengthen the breath. You can lengthen the in breath. You can lengthen the out breath. You can even hold it a little longer at the top, or hold it a little longer at the bottom. And notice as you slow down the rhythm of your breathing, it will slow down both the rhythm of your thinking and your heart. And as you're breathing, just being still and breathing, let go of any ideas, concepts, beliefs about what you should be doing. What you should be doing is just being. Be. Just be still and know that I am the divine. I will do it all. Not me, Martin, but the big I. and just become still. Feel your way deeper within yourself, into your heart. And as you're feeling more deeply in yourself, see what you're feeling. Are you feeling joy? Are you feeling fear? Are you feeling sadness? Shame? All those feelings. Just allow them to be present and feel them without any resistance. Accept those feelings as an invitation inside yourself to go a little bit deeper. Allow that bell to wake us up and the vibration to pull us deeper within ourselves. That space, empty space of infinite, infinite love and abundance. Allow the sound of that bell to wake us up from our planning, our thoughts, our agendas. Let them go. Allow the vibration of the bell to pull us more deeply within ourselves. And welcome back. That's our final bell. Welcome back to the space. Anybody have anything they want to comment on? Always happy to hear from you. Not quite sure what happened there, but I apologize. I'm back. Sometimes this thing just has a life of its own. So, again, thank you so much for joining me today. If you'd like a copy of that illustration, the faith illustration, it's available in the Financial Mystic Sanctuary Facebook group. Anybody that's a member, welcome to join it. Welcome to copy it. Use it, practice it, and let's create no fear. Let's have a day of no fear. No fear and no fear. Because that's what peace is. A day of peace is that peace is surpasses all understanding, is a day of not having that fear. There's always a little, for me, is that underlying current of just got to be a little careful. When we completely let that go, we know that we're actually being held by the love of God, the love of the divine within ourselves. We've got everything we need. And then we can approach life from a place of joy and love and prosperity. And it's just a more fun way to live. Right? Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and being here. And I hope you got something from it. And I will see you tomorrow at noon. Thank you. May love and prosperity prevail.